Now, there is this conspiracy theory in the air that the reason for this casualty is because of one business didn't go down well. Because you understand that in the creeks, you have the pipelines there. And of course, you remember the days of the Asari Dokubo. You know, he was a militant leader at the time. He was one of those who formed the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta. Yes. And of course, the people of those areas have been long neglected as a result of oil spillage that has made almost the occupation, which comes from fishing, farming, completely destroyed. Now, my question is, if there is no form of presence of government, should the military now be a resort to querying those issues? That's number one. Number two, could it have been that it was a business that didn't go down well, perhaps by the militants who were operating in those areas, was why they felt the military could be the best resort to resolve the issue rather than resort to the police? Because you should have a police before the military.
Yes.
So what's your view about that?
The fact is there, if you must face the fact, is that, you know, in those areas, the military themselves, you know, find it very lucrative, you know, to be within those areas because of certain transactions, you know, interest and all that. But the police are the people who are supposed to, you know, be stationed in those communities.
Don't also forget,
and remember that most of these boys over there are into illegal transactions, you know, and they also run. They have access to gun, you know, to protect their business and also protect their interest, you know. So they work closely most times with the military. I don't know. I do not see the reason why, you know, in a conflict situation like this, why the military should come in. But I know that there might be political undertone in this regard, where a certain person feels that, okay, I'm going to bring in the military. I have access to the military. After all, they are close by. These are two local governments: the Bomadi local government and, of course, Ugeli, you know, local government. And most of these communities are Urhobo-speaking communities. So you can see that at a point, the community leadership should be held responsible. That is one. Two, the people who are representing that community in the state government, local government, or at the federal level should also be held responsible.
Where is the place of Nigeria Civil Defense in this case?
Of course, Nigeria Civil Defense, that's what I'm telling you. If you have experienced what I'm talking about, if you have been there yourself, you know that by the time you use speedboat, you know, to an extent, you know, the extent you go to, then you know that this is, you know, purely not even grease, mangrove, you know, and you have to enter different, about 500,000 pipelines in the Niger Delta. So how you're going to navigate those areas is also very is another thing. But the fact still remains that the government itself have not been able to bring governance close to the people, where people can feel the presence of government, where resolutions, conflict resolution can be, you know, quickly addressed. You know, but we are not seeing those things, and this thing has gotten to a point where, you know, our man is like on his own, you know, because of interest or structural.
All right, let's. Because there's been a lot of questions around the presence of the military in these areas, especially to a very questionable extent. You know, people question the intent of the military, their manner of operation in these places, and all that. However, in your earlier submission, you mentioned two things. You said, first of all, that it is more lucrative. It seems to be lucrative for the military to operate in these type of areas. My question is that verifiable? The second question is, you also mentioned that when the military is attacked in such a manner that they've been attacked in just a few days ago, the reprisal is usually very, very bad. Is that constitutional within the ambits of the functionalities of the military to carry out such an activity as a reprisal in that type of manner? Is it okay for the military to up and say, you killed our people, so therefore we are coming to your community to come and raise all hell loose? You get what I mean by that question? So please, if you can tell us, that in the next few minutes.
Let me just put it very clearly here, on this platform, that one, there's no presence of what where I able to have an experience when I travel in those areas. I couldn't find any police post. Where are you going to put the police post? That is one. I see that security are not closer to those communities because of the terrain. But not that the government doesn't have the way to do that, but they have felt in that direction. And secondly, I think it is deliberate. I think the federal government should be able to tell Nigerians why we are having more military presence, maybe because of the access, in those, the federal government access in those areas. That is maybe the reason. And of course, those guys are, most of them are militants. They don't respect the police. They don't respect anything, that has to do with Nigeria police. So, but they have this sentiment over Nigerian military. I think to an extent, some kind of fear. That they need to be careful when they are dealing with the military.
I understand what you're saying, but it still does not justify the fact that the military had to be deployed. Because if you go back into time, Obasanjo's regime brought about the emergence of Nigerian civil defense. And of course, you are saddled with also the information that the Nigerian civil defense has a responsibility to man all government assets, including pipeline and all of that. Why should the military, because I know of, a base very close to us here where the Nigerian civil defense are stationed, because there's a pipeline there. So why should the military be brought in? So much so that they have to declare a peacekeeping mission in a country that is not undergoing war situation. That's the question.
It is a very big lapse. I'm not in support of military presence to resolve any that kind of communal conflict or clash, between one community or the other. But remember what I'm trying to say here. There might be some
vested interest,
some level of political interest, or a certain person in a certain position who want to use his influence, to just to make a statement. But now, if you look at the statement that is coming from the president himself, he has already given military, order, to carry out, fish out those who are involved in those acts.
So what's your take on the issue of the military going in? Because some Nigerians said yesterday, very respectable people are saying that the Nigerian military should now move in to make sure that they level that area. What's your view on that?
That is wrong. That is what I'm saying. It's against the law. Domestically and internationally, where there is a collective punishment, against a certain people or community or interest. That is not democracy. At this point, what we are advocating for is that the federal government should set up, let us find out the reason why there were this conflict between the two local governments, and why the leadership, the community leaders, were not able to resolve that. I don't think that the military should come in. I know what the military stood for. You understand? But I'm trying to tell you that the government are having a certain reservation over deploying either maybe the police or the civil defense in those areas who are not probably trained in case of any further attack. But what you see most in the Niger Delta area are military presence. Maybe because of the access of the federal government there. But that notwithstanding, we need to understand that there is need at this point in time. No matter, those places are still under Nigerian territory. I don't see the reason why we should not have, police stations, around those communities. You hardly see anyone. You hardly see even police, on daily basis.
Right.
So that, even if it is marine police, they can be stationed in those communities. At least, we wouldn't have been experiencing this kind of a thing by now.